Alright, the exhaust on this 2009 Murano completely snaps in half, pretty much directly under the driver's door there. I've patched the exhaust probably 4 times with different questionable methods, but right now it's completely snapped in half before the muffler, so I'm gonna see if I can fix it, whether I use one of those clamps, those exhaust clamps, or maybe I'll be able to weld it. I don't know, we'll see. Get it on ramps first and get an idea for how loud it is. Well, I imagine you could hear it. It sounds a bit like a stock car right now. So, see if I can make it any better. There you can see where the steam's coming out, maybe completely snapped in half. I think the only thing holding it on might be my stitched together hose clamps and tin foil and pop cans. Yep. That's about what I figured was gonna happen. Alright. Well, you can see here is the that flex pipe and all of the ooh, I think I just cut myself. That wasn't smart. I gotta go wash my hands quick so I don't get an infection, hopefully. Alright, well, I cleaned my finger there the best I could and tried to get all the dirt and rust out of it that I can. Hopefully my tetanus shots are still up to date. But here's where we left off. Sit and stare at this for a little bit longer, and then I will pick the camera up if I figure something out.
There's no earthly way of knowing
He's singing.
which direction we are going.
Alright, I got this exhaust taken. It's still like busted and taken apart, but I got it just kind of sitting how it was before it broke. And I'm gonna take some pictures and also mark with a paint pen where the broken sections meet together, so that if I take the entire thing, I potentially might take the whole section of this back section out in order to be able to weld it. And if I do that, I want to make sure I can put it all back correctly, otherwise it won't be able to hang or sit under here correctly. So see how this goes. See, I think, I mean, that should be weldable especially if I can get this whole section off without too much of a fuss. We'll see. And then this part right here, I mean, all of these, I tried putting some PB Blaster on these bolts, but I mean, if you look, like these ones here, I mean, they're not even bolts or nuts anymore, they're just rust. It looks like it was welded on there, but I think it's literally just because it's so rusty. But I don't know, for this section I'm gonna more than likely just have to chop this here. Yeah, I don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Alright, well, I don't think this is going to be very difficult to get the rest of this section off, because if you look under here, this originally would be something that you have to remove in order to get that whole section free, besides the exhaust hangers, those rubber ones. But as you can see here, there was some sort of a rod, I imagine, that was welded from here, probably up, I'm not quite sure, but probably up to the frame or somewhere like that. But I won't have to take those off at least. So see if we can get these rubber ones off. I should probably put something under this, but I'm not laying under it, so I should be fine. The first one came off pretty nice. Let's see if I can get the back one. Ow. I guess that's what I was trying to do. I would consider that a success. Got this part out. Set it aside for now. Gives me a little bit more room. Also doesn't help my case that I've got the car on ramps, so it's lower, making it lower than it is in the first place. But all right, let's get the rest of these clamps off. Well, I don't know why I'm calling them clamps. Rest of these rubber hangers. Alright, well, that's everything from right behind the two cats and back. So I'm gonna get this all pulled out and laid out and then start figuring out a way to Mickey Mouse it all back together. So M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. Alright, I went to O'Reilly's and picked up a whole bunch of different exhaust components, so we'll see if we can get this thing Charlie Browned back together. So 90% sure I bought some of the wrong stuff, even though I took a bunch of measurements, but we'll see. All right, I'm gonna attempt to weld this thing. Got with this little Walmart welder. Gonna try running it on DCEN. Hopefully keep a little of the heat down. I'm also using, I'm gonna set it to like start with 20 amps and use a 16th inch rod. And these things are like holding a spaghetti noodle pretty much, so I'm gonna cut it in half so it's a little more possible to not shake around like a leaf. But we will see if this is going to be a total failure or not. Well, that didn't work, so I'm going to try a different approach. Some cleaner cuts and new pipe.
2,000 years later.
Smash, smash, smash! Yeah!
Alright, I finished off last night. I got one more chunk of pipe to cut and weld, and I somewhat have this thing laid out, I believe, how it will go when I go to put it back underneath the car. I can't really see them anymore, but I made little paint marks here, and just got this sitting up on like a wooden 6x6 or whatever. So I don't think there's any crazy angle on from here to here, so I believe I should be able to just cut it clean on both sides and just put the piece of pipe in, as long as my this thing isn't twisted too much one way or the other. Should be all right, but either way, we'll see. I don't know how much of a hassle it's going to be once I get it all completely welded back together to get back on and secured properly, but we will deal with that when we get to that. This is only like the third time I've used this thing, but it is definitely something I'm happy to have. Leaves it so there's no burr on the outside. There's a little one on the inside, but compared to that Sawzall, it's a dream. This thing also has that knurling on there, and it's like some of the best knurling that I've ever felt or came across. So whoever or wherever they machine this, very nice.
Wow, it's very nice!
This is that chunk of pipe that I bought. Alright, well, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's very, very, very ugly, but I think it will work for what I'm doing. Alright, now just have to fix that last little chunk of flex pipe and see if I can get the whole thing back on. Alright, it says to let that stuff set up for 30 minutes, and then after that run the engine for 10 minutes, and I assume that hardens it. But then here's the other piece of flex tubing that I added, and I had to cut some slits in it so that I can fit it around the other piece of pipe. And then this is dryer duct tape, and then there'll also be a exhaust clamp that goes around here and around here as well. And then theoretically it should sound significantly quieter than it did before this whole process, but we won't know that until we get it back on the car and get the thing fired back up. All right, I'm gonna try and get these rubber hangers put back on, and then I'll pick the camera back up. All right, it's the next day here, and I messed around with getting that thing hung back on those rubber exhaust hangers. I got 4 out of the 5 rubber exhaust hangers reinstalled, and then one of them, it was just too, it was like at such an awkward angle or whatever that I just pushed it up so that these are pretty much close to hanging in the right spot anyways. And I just pushed it up, tied it off there with a bunch of wire. Other than that, there's every other one of the exhaust clamps is, or not clamps, exhaust hangers, rubber things, whatever they're actually called, they're all installed. And then I'll show you the part that I didn't. I've already started it once to see what it's gonna sound like and stuff, and the spots there that I welded don't leak at all, even though they're ugly, so that's really good. And then the piece of the flex pipe that I Mickey Mouse together here, it ended up, I started originally trying to get a piece that would go over this mesh stuff here, but on the inside of this flex tube there's like a rippled, I don't know what you'd call it, like a rippled tube, a flex tube, and if you kind of just slide that back, this rubber mesh or whatever it is, this stuff here, if you push it back a little bit, and then what I did was use a piece of 2 1/4 inch flex pipe from from O'Reilly's or whatever, and then just the clamps or whatever, and then just the clamps that came with it, and then the spot where, or anywhere where I thought there might be potential for leakage or any air escaping, I put a bunch of that JB exhaust weld on it. So, and then this back here it wasn't broken, so I just did the same thing with that JB weld exhaust and wrapped it with some dryer duct vent tape, which I don't really think is necessary, but did it anyway. So, and then other than that, it's all routed back where it originally came from. So one of the alternatives to this would be to just replace this entire section from behind the cat here, but I don't know how well you can see, but these flange bolts are non-existent anymore. The rust has just turned them into absolutely nothing. So fire it up and should be quite a bit quieter than it was to begin with. All right, well, as long as that holds for, well, as long as it's hopefully possible, I'll be happy, because before it was undrivable. So And if I'm pretty sure if you would have brought this to a shop, they would probably give you a quote in the thousands if I had to guess. And I'd also be willing to bet that they would probably find a lot more things that are wrong with this car that they would probably recommend you fix. And in my head, I feel like they probably won't even work on it unless you're gonna fix all that stuff so that they're not liable, but I could be totally wrong. But either way, the whole point of it was just to try and save some money, because this thing has been pretty much nothing but problems since my mom or my dad got it for my mom. So, but try and keep it running while I can.